and welcome again to Fox Comics and Games in beautiful downtown Marion, Illinois, as we unpack this week's new comic book order. And as we're unpacking our diamond order for this week, we notice that there is a crap ton of Uber books that have come in for all of you that keep buying us out and demanding more and buying us out. Well, here's some more. They're all here. Come get them and leave us alone, for gosh sakes. All right. Next up on the comic books, let's start with issue number 1 of Aliens Dust to Dust from Dark Horse Comics. Highly anticipated, a lot of people excited about that. Then next up from Marvel, we have issue 34 of All New Wolverine. It's not like that old Wolverine, it's all new this time. After that, we have from Archie Comics, oddly enough, Archie issue 30. And then from Marvel Comics, we have issue 690 of Avengers. And then after that, we have from Aftershock Comics, which they are coming on strong right now. If you're not reading them, you ought to look into them a bit. Baby Teeth, issue 10. And then next up from DC, we have issue 22 of Batgirl. And as we like to do, we'll show the variant cover for Batgirl, and that actually came in second place in our Cover of the Week contest. Next up from DC is issue 3, and it's the last issue because it's a 3-issue miniseries of Batman and the Signal. Highly anticipated, a lot of you waiting for that. And also from DC, we have issue 19 of Batman Beyond. And that's the variant cover for Dan Jurgens' work. Next up from Image Publishing, I think Mrs. Fox knows all about this. It's The Beef, issue 3. And then from Titan Comics, we have issue 3 of Bloodborne, based on the video game. Quite a few people reading it and enjoying it and recommending it. So if you're not reading that, maybe you might look into it if you enjoy the video game. Also up from DC, issue 6, or the last issue of The Demon, Hell is Earth. For those that feel that that is necessary. And then from Marvel, we have issue 299 of the Despicable Deadpool. So the next issue should be something big or really funny. And then next up from DC, we have Batman Detective Comics, issue 979. And that's the variant cover there. And then from Marvel, next up, we have issue 389 of Doctor Strange. And quite honestly, that cover factored nowhere into our Best Cover of the Week series. So that did not factor in. We were not impressed with that. Next up from Marvel, just to keep you confused and to do great marketing like they do, Doctor Strange Damnation, issue 4. Nice idea, Marvel, to have 2 Doctor Strange comics in the same week. That works for everybody. Next up from DC, we have from their Young Animals, Doom Patrol, issue 11. And then from IDW, a comic built for comic and gaming stores like Fox's in beautiful downtown Marion, Illinois, issue number 1 of Dungeons & Dragons, Evil at Baldur's Gate. And then from Marvel, we have Exiles, issue 2. And then next up from DC, we have issue 45 of The Flash. And then, as we like to do, we show the variant covers, a gorgeous variant cover on The Flash, which Flash variant covers always seem to be very strong. And then next up from Image Publishing, we have Gasolina, and that is issue 7. And that's starting to really come on, get a lot of readers. So that's something you might want to jump onto and catch up on. Then from DC, we have issue 43 of Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. And then that's what the variant for that comic looks like. Then also from DC, we have Hellblazer 21. And then the variant cover features Mr. Fox as Hellblazer. There you are. Although he has more hair than I do, so I'm jealous of that. Next up from Image, we have Hit Girl, issue 3 from Mark Millar. That's obviously going over very, very well. Then next up from Marvel, the highly anticipated Hunt for Wolverine. Turned out he was hiding in the garage. That's, who knew? It's a very short comic. It just says he's in the garage, but that's where Wolverine was. And then here's some of the variant covers for Hunt for Wolverine. That's the Kubert variant, and this is the Chichetto variant. And I love this because it's almost a virgin cover. There's almost no writing on it whatsoever. Very pretty. Next up from Image, we have issue 4 of the Ice Cream Man. Very good series. Very popular here at Fox's. Quite a few people reading it. Then from Marvel, we have issue 599, since a trend, of Invincible Iron Man. Still Brian Michael Bendis writing. Not for much longer. And let me see what would be up next. From Archaea Publishing, we have Jim Henson's Labyrinth Coronation, issue 3. Gorgeous comic, great artwork, really, really nice story. And then from DC, we're going to show you the standard cover and the variant cover of Justice League of America. That's the regular cover. And then there's Justice League of America issue 29 variant cover with Grumpy Batman. So he's a little angry there. I think he's got a little gas bubble or something. Next up from Image Publishing, we have issue 18 of Kill or Be Killed by Ed Brubaker. Gorgeous comic, very stylistic. If you know Ed Brubaker, you love his work. He's a great writer. Has worked on many, many, many great runs. Next up from Dynamite Publishing, issue 3 of Kiss and the Army of Darkness. If you find that necessary, we have them. Next up, we have Lady Death, Unholy Ruin, issue 1. If you like your breasts as big as your adventure, we have it. Next up from Marvel, we have issue 4 of Legion. Or Legion, and then you could have a doctor look at it and get some antibiotic or something. Next up from DC, we have Mira, Queen of Atlantis, issue 3. So that series is halfway done. That's a 6-part series. And that's really gotten a lot of readers coming in recently recommending it, so it must be pretty solid. Speaking of solid and being well written, Boom Publishing's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2018 Annual number 1. And this ties into Shattered Grid, which is probably one of the best runs they've had in decades for the Power Rangers. So if you're not reading that and you're a Power Rangers fan, you need to be. So come in here and buy it and don't ask questions. Next up from Marvel, we have issue 706 of The Mighty Thor. And I'm Mighty Thor, but that's another story. Next up from Marvel, we have issue 194 of Moon Knight. And then from IDW, one of Mr. Fox's favorite comics is issue 65 of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Alright, that's not to be confused with issue 65, My Little Pony, Friendship is Crap. That's an entirely different comic. It's less fun to read. Alright, the next one up from Marvel is Old Man Hawkeye, issue 4. Also from Marvel, Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 303. And then next up from DC, we have Raven, Daughter of Darkness, issue 4. Image Publishing brings us Redneck, issue 12. Ought to be wildly popular in Southern Illinois. And also from Image Publishing, Regression, issue 9. And that's popular, very popular in this store. Oni Press brings us issue 37 of Rick and Morty. And Image Publishing brings us issue 6 of Sacred Creatures. Very good book. Lots of people reading that as well. Speaking of good book with lots of people reading it, Image Publishing's issue 51 of Saga, which if you're not reading that and you're watching this video, go out and get you some Saga at your local comic book store. Tell them you want to get started right away because you want to read that. It's a very, very, very good book. Alrighty, and then next up after that will be from Valiant Publishing's Shadow Man #2, and this is the pre-order bundle. It includes more pages and content than the standard one for the same price. And then that's the standard cover and release for Shadow Man #2, and that won our cover of the week. So that's our #1 cover this week. Next up from DC, we have Silencer #4. And then from Boom Publishing, we have #5 of 5 of Skyborn by Frank Cho. And then from IDW, we have #4 of Sonic the Hedgehog. And Marvel brings us #31 of Spider-Gwen. Marvel also brings us #15 of Star Wars Darth Vader. And Marvel also brings us #19 of Star Wars Dr. Aphra, currently being written by Kieran Gillen. Very good book. Next up from DC is #40 of Suicide Squad. And then this is what that variant cover looks like for Suicide Squad. Then next up also from DC is #19 of Teen Titans. And this is to give you an idea of what that variant cover looks like. Next up we have from DC #3 of The Terrifics. And then from Marvel, we have the Thanos Annual #1 for 2018. Highly anticipated. Also from DC, we have the second annual of 2018 for Titans. And then we have from DC #22 of Trinity. And then this will give you an idea of the variant cover on Trinity. Very, very nice. Then we have, next up from American Mythology, we have Underdog #3. And there's Sweet Polly Purebred up there waiting for Underdog. And for those of you who think we only get variant covers for the DC titles or Marvel titles or those things, there's the variant cover for Underdog for those of you wishing to collect. Next up we have from Marvel #165 of Venom, and I'm pretty sure that movie's coming soon. And that also, because Marvel likes doing this, #4 of Venomized. Not the same comic, just close enough to confuse you. Then next up from Image Publishing, we have #5 of Witchblade. And then next up from DC, we have #45 of Wonder Woman, one of Mr. Fox's favorites. And there's the gorgeous variant cover for Wonder Woman 45. Then we have from Marvel Comics #26 of X-Men Blue. And then finally this week we have from Valiant Publishing #14 of Exo-Man of War. And again, that's the pre-order edition. And then that's the standard cover of #14 of Exo-Man of War. So that looks like the comics this week for Fox's. Come on in on Wednesday the 25th and get some comics. Hope to see you here.